before discussing LinkedIn in more detail, actually, why did you discover or how did you discover the platform?
So it was a bit of a sort of stumble upon the platform. I used it a little bit before previously, but literally had like 200 connections and very, very much used it as the job hunting platform that most people do. And then I tried when I sort of first started in the personal branding space, I sort of started posting for a little bit. Didn't really like it because I don't think I understood really how to use a platform and sort of how impactful it would be really. And so I stuck with Instagram, stuck with sort of my blogs, etc. And then I came back to it last year and I was like, you know what? I need to give this a go. I've seen so many other people doing really well on the platform. And for me, especially because obviously I have a bit more of an academic background, I like to bring psychology and data and things into sort of the work I do. Having a platform that I could write content on, reuse words, appealed to me. So I thought I'd give it another go. And second time around, I went from like very few followers to quite a few followers quite quickly because I stayed consistent. And I think I had a very strong brand identity before I started on the platform. I knew what I wanted to be known for. There wasn't too much experimenting in that sense. And I think that helped me the second time around because those things are really clear to start with.
Mm. Well, I can say that I wish I approached it in the same way, like knowing what I want, how to approach it, how to do it without trial and error and all the fails.
Exactly, but I think it happens differently from everyone as well. And I think to start with, the first time around, it very much was trial and error. It didn't work, and I gave up on it quite quickly. But the second time around, I knew I had to be a bit more intentional with it, and then that's when I started applying everything I knew, sort of
hmm
trust building and content writing and things like that to the platform, and that's when it sort of worked
Yeah,
better. It was still trial and error and testing
yeah.
different things working, things not working, but just with a little bit more sort of understanding the second time around.
But of course, people sometimes think that, for example, when I read it on your bio on LinkedIn, that you went, I think, around 12 months from 0 to 18K followers, that
Yeah.
people might think, okay, she went, I don't know, quickly because of content, or I don't know. But then people don't see, like, as you said, your academic background, the thinking behind it, even experience from other platforms. So you never really know the whole picture and what is really behind it. And it's not just, about the luck or algorithm like in.
Exactly. There's so many more things that go in behind the scenes. I think that often you see the highlight reel, don't you, on LinkedIn? Like,
Mhm.
oh, I've achieved this in this amount of time and I've made this amount of money in this amount of time. But actually, there are several other factors that have gone in behind the scenes and never talked about. And I think it often puts
Yeah.
people off because they think, well, they've gone from this amount of followers to this amount of followers in X amount of time.
Yeah.
I haven't achieved that for myself. I must be doing something wrong. When in reality, they've tested the platform before. They know someone that does really well who helps them write their content. They've got experience in copywriting. Like all of these things add up behind the scenes that actually made their success so much easier. So you should never be disheartened by what you see other people do
Y-
because there's
Yeah.
often other things behind the scenes.
And it's like you never see the whole picture, and keep in mind that people usually share, like the successes and wins, and don't really talk about all the failures or what hasn't worked out behind the scenes.
Exactly. And I think it's getting a little bit better on LinkedIn, I think, these days compared to what it was before, because I think people are being a little bit more transparent and being a little bit more vulnerable. But I don't see it across the board. And I think it's often hard when that's all you see. All you see is the highlight reel and the wins and all the sort
Yeah.
of polished things. It's really hard when you start getting started when you don't see those things for yourself. And so, yeah, it's
That's
important
true.
to compare.
And then from your journey, Kiara, when you showed up on LinkedIn and when you grew what we discussed now, I'm sure audience would love to hear if you've got any advice or ideas how to grow, how to build your brand. I don't want to say go viral, but how to just grow consistently, whether it's following clients or even your personal brand.
So yeah, I think there's a lot of things that go into it. And I think the first thing to get super clear on is like what are your goals for the platform? So do you actually want to grow your account or do you want to get clients or do you want to get on podcasts, for example, like this? Like what is your goal to the platform? I'd say to start with, no matter whether you're a business owner or whether you're someone in a 9 to 5 job, getting visibility on your brand is important. So I'd probably go through like a little bit of a growth stage to start with, try and create
Mhm.
content that gets eyes on your brand and who you are and what you do. And then from there, you can then start building in that authority content, which is what I talk about the most and what I really specialize in, is actually helping people build real authority rather than just creating sort of relatable, shareable content that anyone else can do. Because that content's great, like I said, for visibility and getting eyes on your brand to start with. But when you're actually wanting to get a job or get seen by a recruiter or get a dream client, like land in your inbox, you're actually going to have to be showcasing your expertise. You're going to have to be building trust. You're going to have to be sort of making real connections with people. And those are all the things that sort of come in a little bit later on, but are super important.
That's a great point, because again, you may see someone that does one thing, I don't know, posts with this consistency or this type of content, but again, you don't know what is their goal, and maybe your goal is completely different. So it doesn't really make sense to you to copy them if you are like in a different places.
Exactly. You have no idea what someone else's goals are. And a lot of people in different niches and different industries have naturally very different goals for their brands. And I think it's super important to get crystal clear on what you want to do and what you want your personal brand to help you achieve. So I think when you go into it with, I'm just going to grow my brand and see what happens, that's where you fall into very quickly, like chasing the engagement and chasing the impressions and things like that, which is obviously you need to have that to some degree, but you can't be doing that forever. Otherwise you're never going to achieve anything from your personal brand.